Hey there, Skullheads. I'm Snags.
And I'm old Silky.
And
And
this
I'm
week we're
out.
going to And oh, yeah, we got Alan here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Forgot.
Wow. Wow. Thank you,
Alan
no
Beetle
people.
Alan Beetle Bailey is back. And at his suggestion, we're doing a Seinfeld episode, show we all grew up with and loved. We were there when this shit was airing every week. Live on TV, and you go to work, and everybody be talking about the latest Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
People,
Yeah.
Things like you're not sponge worthy, just all
Yeah.
kinds of, you know. But yeah,
Silky knew Silky knew people that had Seinfeld parties. You know,
yeah, we would have viewing parties each week. It'd be over at somebody else's
Right.
house, and I'm talking like 15 or 20 people all sitting around the couch on the floor listening to like a pin drop, and you'd watch the show,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and no one was allowed to talk until the commercials.
Right.
It was epic, and you just
Yeah.
don't see anything like. Maybe people did that with Friends. I was pretty anti-Friends, so I never.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Seinfeld was Nirvana. Friends was Pearl Jam. That's basically how that was.
All
Friends
right.
was the pale imitation.
Yeah.
So Seinfeld basically revolutionized sitcoms. Basically was dubbed the show about nothing, transformed comedy with its focus on just mundane life. It aired from July 5th through 1989 through May 14th, 1998. I didn't catch that first episode live, but I was there for the finale live and many, many others. 180 episodes. That's 9 seasons, 180 episodes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you say
the-
mundane,
the-
but it was a show that everyone could relate to
Right.
far more than what people had watched before this show, which I think is why
That's
people
because-
say this show changed television.
Yeah, it's because we all live mundane lives, right? We get up, we get some job, we work, we come home, we watch TV, we eat, and we go to sleep, and you do it over again. And TV shows before that, a lot of them was about escaping all that in one way or
Yeah,
another. And this
like
is
a perfect family situation, or
yeah,
the A Team, where you got 5 guys from Vietnam who, let's do a montage and we'll build something, and it'll be, it'll all come together, and then we wrap up the bad guys by the end of the show.
yeah. And Seinfeld's about finding a hair in your bagel.
Yep.
It's just the mundane shit. So
Or getting banned from the Chinese delivery,
Or
Yeah.
catching somebody double dipping.
Yeah.
double
See?
dipping,
Yeah.
that became a thing. Yeah,
It brought to light things you would never think.
I always made sure after that I watched that, I was like, I'm never gonna double dip, and I
Well,
never have ever since then.
And sometimes the show would hit on something, you'd look over and be like, "Oh, we were just talking about that."
Right.
It was.
They gave everything a name. Everything all of a sudden had a
Yeah.
name.
Yeah,
For that
those
particular-
specific offenses. Yeah,
Yeah, and we'll be getting into a lot of those episodes. A lot of stuff just became part of the pop culture fabric, and maybe some of you younger blokes, you might hear some shit today and go, "Oh, that came from Seinfeld." So you never know. Going to start with a little background on the key people involved in the show, and then on how the show came together, and then we'll kind of let the conversation freeform after that. Jerry Seinfeld was born in Brooklyn in 1954. His father was a sign painter, his mother was a homemaker, and his dad was apparently a very interesting storyteller. So he inherited that. He inherited that gene. He went to Queens College, graduated in 1976 with a degree in communications and theater. He started honing his comedic skills in college. He began stand-up at New York City's Catch a Rising Star, and he developed a clean observational style, jokes about laundry and dating. Normally, that kind of stuff, like Bill Cosby humor, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm more of a Andrew Dice Clay, Sam Kinison type of cat myself. But
I think our sense of humor tends to evolve from the shock of something. I've always found the funnier jokes are things that make me go, "Oh my God," you know.
Yeah. Yeah. What was Jesus's last words? It wasn't "Forgive them, Father, for they have sinned." It was, "Ah! Ah! Ah!"
Yeah.
It just scared
you
my
sons
dog.
of bitches.
Yeah.
I believe it was you sons of bitches.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's a little Sam Kinison for you. But anyways, but Jerry Seinfeld's humor is just so it's observational, clean stuff, but it's such a side skewed view that it really makes it interesting. Hey, we got an announcement here.
El Condor in the house.
Check out snagsandsilky.com. We got stuff. We got 3D printers, Lego sets,
T-shirts,
T-shirts,
mugs, stickers,
mugs. We got Grug, the caveman.
Okay.
Grug the caveman. All right.
Missiles.
Jerry Seinfeld. Okay, there he goes.
There he goes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So he's develops his own style of humor. This is real quirky, oddball ways of looking at normal everyday life. Starts doing open mic nights, clubs. He performed for free very often just to refine material. His first Tonight Show appearance, his big break, is in 1981. That is on YouTube. It's early Seinfeld. It's not really the most hilarious appearance, but he got the call over to the couch to hang out with Johnny, so that was a big deal.
That's a rarity.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carson never, there's a great Richard Pryor debut on Carson, that same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Great shit.
And he became a regular on Late Night with David Letterman. He was on Benson. He got you can look up Benson. We might put it in the click pit. It's only 4 minutes, but if you look it up on YouTube, it's Seinfeld on Benson. All of his appearances, the compilation comes up to a little under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Benson was a hilarious TV show.
He plays this courier who's trying to sell jokes to the governor to use in his speeches. And funny thing about that, the way he got fired, they forgot to tell him he was fired.
Right.
And so he shows up at the reading and there's no script. He has to kind of drag a chair up to the table and there's like, where's my script?
Yeah.
And some producers like, and they have to take him aside in front of everybody and go, we forgot to tell you, you're out of here.
That's brutal.
Kind of the opposite of when George quits and then comes back like it never had,
right. And we'll talk about that when we get to Larry David next here, because that's based on a Larry David experience. But that could have been in a Seinfeld episode, that little experience. Anyways, he meets Larry David in 1988, and so who's Larry David? You know him from Curb Your Enthusiasm, but he was born in 1947 in Brooklyn. His father was Mortimer, a clothing manufacturer, and his mother was Rose, a homemaker. Graduated from University of Maryland in 1970 with a history degree, and worked odd jobs: cab driver, bra salesman.
Bingo.
Yeah. Served in the Army Reserve. Did stand-up at the Improv. Started stand-up in 1974 at the Improv. Known for his abrasive, self-deprecating style And if audiences didn't laugh, he'd just say, "Fuck you," and walk off the stage.
His stand-up is hysterical from back in the day.
Oh, is it? I have to look it up.
And then he was on Fridays. I think that's where he met Michael Richards.
Yeah, he got hired on Fridays. He was there in 1980 to 1982, where he met Michael Richards. And then he gets hired on Saturday Night Live for one season, 84 to 85. And about halfway through that season, Alan was alluding to this. They based a Seinfeld episode on this.
But right. Yeah.
Halfway through that season, Larry David gets in an argument with Lorne Michaels. He's having trouble getting any of his skits on the air. And then just gets pissed off and, well, fuck you, I quit. Storms out of there. And he's driving home, and then he's like, how am I going to pay my bills for the rest of the year? Oh my God. And he had a neighbor named Kramer. His neighbor was named Kenny Kramer, not Cosmo Kramer, but they based the character on this neighbor, right? Well, he drives home and he starts talking to Kramer. And he's like, what do? I quit my job. How am I going to pay my bills? And Kramer's like, just go back in tomorrow for the staff meeting. Pretend like nothing ever happened. Pretend like nothing ever happened. And he did, and it worked.
That's tremendous.
So he meets Jerry in 1988. We got three other cast members here who are all critically important to the show. You got Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Her father was Gerard Louis-Dreyfus, who was a billionaire businessman. So why she was bothering doing all this acting stuff, I don't know. Maybe she liked it. You know, if my parents were billionaires, I'd just be going to concerts, and hey, I wouldn't put any effort into any of that shit.
The Caribbean somewhere. Yeah.
Well, when you're rich enough, but when you're rich enough, then you can actually get into auditions, or if she enjoyed.
Yeah, right.
She's naturally funny as hell.
Oh, she is. Yeah. She went to she studies theater at Northwestern University. And she got recruited to Saturday Night Live 1982 to 85. So that's where she met Larry David. Larry David is a common thread here for all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she was she had a small role in Hannah and Her Sisters, the Woody Allen movie, the movie Soul Man, and a sitcom called Day by Day. And we'll talk about how she got into Seinfeld in a bit. Michael Richards, he's my favorite character.
Oh, absolutely.
Before you have to mention, Julia Louis-Dreyfus is also in Christmas Vacation, which is just epic. Every year we watch her performance in that.
Margot.
Yeah. Why is the carpet wet? So good.
Yeah.
So Michael Richards, who played Kramer, is born in 1949 in Culver City, California, raised by a single mother. His father died when he was 2. He grew up shy. He used physical comedy to kind of cope and break the tension. Drafted into the Army in the early 70s, stationed in Germany, and performed in military theater productions. Studied drama at California Institute of the Arts, 73 to 75. Trained with improv groups like the Groundlings, famous improv group out there in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went to one of their performances when I moved out to L.A. after high school and lived there for 3 months. And then he got onto Fridays, which is where he met Larry David. He was also in Young Doctors in Love, 1982. Paul Stanley was in that briefly. I think I got to mention Kiss in every episode, but Paul Stanley was in Young Doctors in Love. I think his scene might have gotten cut, but he had something to do with that movie.
I remember the movie, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
It was before they took their makeup off. He was in there without makeup as a character, and the scene got cut, and then they took their makeup off like a year later. Cheers. Michael Richards was on Cheers and Night Court.
Yeah, I remember that episode from Cheers. That was very early in that series.
Yeah, it's like season 1 or 2 or something.
Because he had bet Sam, when Sam was drinking, that Sam would marry Jacqueline Bisset. And obviously, 5 years, within 5 years or whatever. So 5 years had passed by. He came to claim his, winnings or whatever. So, yeah.
I just remember
that was the first time I remember seeing Michael Richards having an impression on me.
Well, see, for us, we would watch Fridays.
Oh, see, I remember Fridays, but I don't remember him. Yeah.
He had this ongoing skit where he's this like real creeper pervert guy, and he'd have these roller skates on, and he would like lick his lips and be like, oh, yeah. And
you got him down perfectly there.
Yeah.
He would skate around in these, too short shorts, and he'd like look at the other girls that were skating around, and he'd say stuff like, "Do you like my balls?" And he's talking about the performance on his roller skates, And when you're 11, it's the funniest fucking thing in the world.
Right.
But he would always have these bits. He was my favorite on Friday.
Yeah.
Either Larry David's character here and there, or Michael Richards was just the funniest shit to me. And if you go back, there's a 3 DVD set. It's called The Best of Fridays, and it's got a lot of full episodes with bands. And speaking of Kiss, it does have their performance on Fridays.
Yeah, they did The Oath and I from The Elder. Yeah. Terrible songs from a terrible album during a very awkward time.
Yeah.
So he was also in UHF with Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And then the last but not least, Jason Alexander, who played George Costanza, born J. Scott Greenspan, 1959, Newark, New Jersey. His father was an accounting manager. His mother was a nurse. Started acting in school plays at 12 years old. He was a theater major at Boston University for a couple of years, but his theatrical career took off, so he just left college. Breakout Broadway role, Merrily We Roll Along in 1981, followed by The Rink in 1984 with Liza Minnelli. Won a Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical for Jerome Robbins' Broadway, 1989. So he was a Broadway cat, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a 1984 sitcom called ER, not the show with George Clooney.
Mm.
He was in a show called Everything's Relative in 1987, and he was a sleazy lawyer in 1990 in Pretty Woman. He hits
I
on
remember him in Pretty Woman.
Yeah, hits on Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
And when he got they auditioned a lot of people for George, and nobody was doing it. And he comes in and he read the dialogue, and he's like, "Oh, this is basically like Woody Allen."
Totally.
So he's doing his Woody Allen impression while he's reading, and fucking nailed it. And then as he got to know Larry David, he realized, oh, it's not Woody Allen, it's Larry David. So he started doing his Larry David impression. But basically, Larry and Jerry became friends, and they're at a Korean deli, and they brainstormed this idea for it was going to be like a TV special, and it was going to be a one camera. It was a big deal. They're just going to have one camera, cinema verite, basically. Follow Jerry Seinfeld around all day, and then he would write stand-up based on whatever happened that day, and at the end he does a stand-up routine based on whatever happened. And it's going to be one camera, guerrilla filmmaking style thing. And they pitched this to NBC, and they kind of had a script. The original title was actually Stand Up. as in stand-up comedy. And then very quickly it became the Seinfeld Chronicles, and they were getting notes on the script. And one of the things was and it was kind of a pilot. First it was a special. It was going to be like a 90-minute special. And then Jerry was like, there's no way we can fill up 90 minutes. And then they decided to make it a 30-minute sitcom pilot. Then it became the Seinfeld Chronicles. That was the title after stand-up. And the network was insisting on a 3-camera sitcom setup pioneered by Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz back in the day in front of a studio audience. And at first, Larry was like, no 3 cameras. It's got to be 1 camera. I'm not selling out. But luckily, he came to his senses and, basically went ahead with it. They do the pilot, and it gets dumped into the midsummer. Gets dumped into the midsummer schedule, which usually means they'll sometimes air pilots they're not going to pick up in the middle of the summer. Just dump them in the schedule. But there was a VP at NBC who really liked it and took some money out of his budget. I think he had a budget for specials, and said, I will take money out of my budget. Let's just order 4 episodes of this and see what happens. So they almost threw away their biggest cash cow because most of the guys there were not enthusiastic about it. And Larry David's rules for the show: no hugging, no learning, which I totally agree with. No hugging, no learning. None of that sappy bullshit. That's what made this different from Bill Cosby. You know what I mean? There was this kind of cynical worldview underlining it all. And the rest is history, but it really kind of took off. So
yeah, they did 6 episodes that first season.
They did 5. They did the pilot, and then they did 4 episodes. That was season 1.
It's only 5? Why do I think it's 6? Okay.
Yeah, they did the pilot, and then they did 4 episodes.
And I remember Larry going, when they got approved for a second season, he's like, holy shit, we've got to write. Now we have to actually come up with something. And he was, really
overwhelmed,
almost nauseous at the thought. It's just funny how this is what you wanted, and now you're upset by it. You wanted me to relate kind of a Seinfeld.
Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, so Silky has had 2 very Seinfeld Curb Your Enthusiasm type experiences this week that they have to be shared. So
perfect for this.
Lay that shit down for us before we jump into the show proper.
Where I work, we, in the airport, people are coming through, and I'm over at this other checkpoint, and this guy comes through and manages to shit a log out of his shorts. It drops on the floor, and he goes to kick it away and does like a slide into second kind of thing. And people are like, what the it just could have easily been no one noted, but when he did the slide, somebody screams, pointing. It becomes a hazmat issue. They call the cleaner people. The supervisor comes and puts a wet floor kind of hazmat. They shut down 2 lanes, which that affects 300 people.
Oh my God. So
people are like, Jesus Christ, you fuck it is all the things. So that was the one that could have very easily been a Kramer scenario.
That's what I was thinking. It's Kramer.
No.
That's Kramer for sure.
And then the other one, I'm at work. I'm in the break room. A lot of times you sit in the break room. There's no one in there, and it can be a stressful job with dealing with thousands of people a day. So I go in the break room, and the news is on. You look over, and they're showing, a typical neighborhood in Florida. Palm trees and some houses, and across the bottom it says Palm Tree Lane, and I'm like, I live on Palm Tree Terrace. What are they talking about? And I get the volume, and there's cops everywhere, and they're speculating on why all these cops are here at this address, and there's a potential bomb threat. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm looking, and I realize that's the block that I drive on twice a day as I turn off my street or turn onto my street coming home. And I'm like, fuck, that's my house. That's literally 3 minutes from my house. And it's 2 p.m. So I'm like, God, I hope this gets wrapped up, Well, late in the evening, I get a text from my wife saying, hey, this guy's got a bomb strapped to him. His girlfriend has a house in the neighborhood. So now there's 2 houses that they're tearing apart, thinking of Ted Kaczynski, where they, the Unabomber, they got to go through every square inch of and he had her, I guess, at gunpoint or bomb point. They realized he had a bomb strapped to him, and just all this crazy shit. So at 10 o'clock at night, I get off work and I call Snags, and I'm like, dude, I might not be able to get into my house. And so I go out all the way to that street and realize the cops are still blocking it off. And long story short, I didn't get into my house until 7:30 the next day.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and he texted me. He texted me. He tried to get in his house. The cops wouldn't let him go down the street. So he texts me an hour or so later, and he goes, "I am sleeping in my mother-in-law's house on a cot, and in a pink breast cancer awareness shirt and some
capri type sweats. That's all they had for me.
That they gave me."
Yeah. And so I had to drive home the next day thinking, what if I get pulled over? I look like a fucking fruit bat here. Luckily, I was able to get in my house and get 2 or 3 hours of sleep. But Tuesday was my Friday, so I at least got a couple hours. But it was brutal going to work. A lot of people couldn't believe I didn't call out.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
so that's a total George Costanza. I need to get into my house.
Oh yeah.
But
so
that's the power of this show is even so many episodes you can so relate. You've like, fuck, I've done that. I've literally that same situation happened. And as the show was going on, Snags totally felt like he was living that identity.
I was Jerry. I was completely Jerry. I was and still am good friends with an ex-girlfriend of mine. She was Elaine. I was single at the time though, so I was single, good friends with my ex-girlfriend. Silky here was Kramer, without a doubt. I had a nerdy friend from work who was George. It was my life when I first started. Back when I was dating the girl who became the ex-girlfriend, her dad used to say, "He looks like Jerry Seinfeld."
Yeah, I think we both got that. I certainly had.
Yeah,
quite a few people think I was Jerry Seinfeld, which is absurd.
But in my cosmology, you were Kramer, like without a doubt. You were the wacky friend, but
When it's funny is I totally identified so much with George Costanza, just in missing the football to reference the Peanuts, just every step of the way,
Yep. Well, that first season they were averaging about 1.5 million viewers. They're very lucky they got picked up for the second season. A key episode was the stakeout, where Jerry and George stake out a woman's workplace to learn her name. That season also introduced Art Vandelay and Jerry's parents, Morty and Helen. So it's that 1.5 million viewers. It's just kind of limping along there. Then season 2 comes along. They order 12 episodes. That first season, it was called the Seinfeld Chronicles. Season 2, it's just Seinfeld. This is when I started watching it. Elaine gets introduced. The network basically said, you got to have a female lead character to kind of balance things off here. It'll add some more dynamics. And they were right. Sometimes the network bigwigs are right.
It was brilliant to add her.
Yeah.
Yep.
We watched those Seinfeld season 1 because it came on. It either came on after a show I religiously watched, or it came on before, and so it was like, well, I'll watch it, and I didn't really give it much, but we watched it. It was something to watch, and as it went along, it just got better and better.
I actually reacted to this at the time like Snags did with Nirvana and things like that. Whenever something was popular, I you shy away from it, Snags, right?
Sure.
For some reason, it took me forever to get into Nirvana because everybody loved them. I was like, if everybody loves them, fuck that.
For whatever reason, a few people were chirping about Seinfeld this, Seinfeld that. I was in my brother. I'm like, oh, whatever. And I ignored it until the following season. I started watching the next year.
Yeah.
So
that second season that goes up from 1.5 million viewers to averaging around 12 million. Establishes the coffee shop as one of the main sets. It's a key episode in that season was the Chinese restaurant where the whole episode is just them waiting for a table. That
was brilliant. And I think that became a stencil for the rest of the entire series.
That's when It's a Show About Nothing started.
Yeah.
When it started getting the reputation for that. But that episode specifically really pissed off the network bigwigs. They did not want to air that episode. They didn't want to shoot the script. And the thing about Jerry and Larry, and Larry David got banned from the meetings with the network bigwigs because he would just get too vitriolic. So Jerry would go in there and they're thinking, well, we can push Jerry around because he's a nice guy. But Jerry was like, they'd give them notes. We want you to do that. And it's all just lame, tried and true sitcom stuff. We want, maybe some people should learn some lessons and Jerry would be like, we're not doing that. Right, and they're like, yeah, but we're the network. And he said, fine, I'll go back to doing stand up.
Yeah.
And so, Jerry was just had just as much backbone as Larry when it came to not giving in on bullshit ideas, but they hated that Chinese restaurant episode. They didn't want to shoot it. Larry and Jerry insisted on shooting it. They didn't want to air it. They forced them to air it, I think, last in the season. It was like one of the last episodes that aired that season, even though it was shot in time to air near the beginning.
Oh, really? See, that episode, I'll tell you, like I said before, we watched the show because it came on right before something else or right after. And then it became I've seen the other 3 episodes. We'll watch this last one, so you almost felt obligated to catch it. Yeah. And then by season 2, I'd already seen all the other ones. And I liked that we'd caught it right as it started. But with this episode specifically, I inherited this from my father. If I don't eat, I am a fucking serial killer. I'm very, very hangry. If I'm hungry and we're fucking around somewhere with a group like that, I'm like, listen, if I don't eat, and this episode was that entire situation.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's hungry and they're just, what the hell is going where, and then you want to leave, but by the time you leave and get somewhere else, it's been at least it was so, it was a perfect moment of the this has happened, and it just became insanely hilarious because you could relate to it so well,
Yep.
And I don't think there were shows like that. I mean, you can go back to I Love Lucy or The Honeymooners, and there were arguments between couples. You're like, oh my God, I've had that exact, and those are brilliant moments. But apart from that, you weren't going to watch Happy Days and go, oh my God, we've done that.
I jumped a shark before.
Yeah, I jumped a shark. So that was a nail in the coffin for me. Well, I hate to put it that way. That just solidified this is a show that I need to continue watching.
Yeah. So season 3, they're up to 17, averaging about 17 million viewers. Larry Charles is added as a writer, starts adding some more kind of absurdist humor. Famous episode from season 3 is the parking garage, which is kind of similar to the Chinese restaurant. It's just them lost in a parking garage for the whole episode.
But the thing there, Michael Richards was such a method actor. He insisted on really carrying an AC in that box. So he's walking around lugging this really awkward, heavy box in all these scenes. And there was really a little AC unit in that box.
Yeah.
When he plops that thing down in the trunk of the car, he really hit his head on the hood.
Right.
Yeah.
Just hilarious. The parking garage is another one like the Chinese restaurant. Any collection would include the parking garage because that had all 4 characters, and they really carried it. And I think that gave George some ammunition. We'll get to when George storms off because they just didn't have him in an episode.
So that one had a perfect ending where George was in this episode. They were all in this episode.
I'm saying later, I think in season 4, there's an episode without George.
The pin.
And George told them.
George and Elaine.
If you don't ever, I'm never going to do another show unless all of us are in the episodes. And he referred to how the parking garage was the perfect had bits for everyone.
Right.
And fuck you if you guys can't do that, which I don't, let the writers write, but Jason had the same attitude of, look, I'll go back to musicals.
Broadway, yeah.
So the ending of the parking garage had the perfect ending where they're all in the car. They finally get the car. They're all in the car. They're ready to leave. Kramer gets in the car and he's trying to start it and it won't start. And it just fades out. Now, the thing is, in the script, the car starts and they drive away. When they were shooting it, the car wouldn't start. And they were like, oh, that's perfect. So that was actually just by the grace of Lemmy that
That's
happened.
phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Serendipity.
Yeah. Season 4, they're up to 20 million viewers, averaging around 20 million viewers.
Yeah. This is where I came in.
Okay.
You finally caved.
Yeah.
Sold out.
Yeah.
This is where there's a whole series arc of George and Jerry come up with an idea for a TV show that's about Jerry's life, and it's basically just Larry, David, and Jerry are just writing about when they came up with the show.
Yeah.
And my favorite episode of all time is the contest. That's in this. That's in this this season. Yeah, where they basically bet on who can not masturbate for the longest. You know, who can abstain for the longest. And the funny thing here is, and I think Elaine has to throw in more money because she's a girl, you know.
Yeah, she does.
It's not fair. You're a girl.
Right.
When I worked at this software company at the time, and one of the managers there was this cute redheaded girl, and we were all, you would basically, everybody would talk about Seinfeld every week, right? And somehow we're all a group of us are talking about Seinfeld, and I was like, oh, my favorite episode is the one where they all bet on how long they can go without masturbating. This is at work. And
that's smart.
She was kind of this square kind of girl, and it got really awkward. She's like, yeah. Anyways. Fucking hilarious.
That's typical.
Yeah.
No, in that scene, in that episode, if I remember right, they come up with it. Kramer walks out, shuts the door, and almost comes back immediately, slaps $20 down, and says, "I'm out."
That's because they see this woman, this sexy woman through the window. They're all looking out the window at this sexy girl, and Kramer is like, "I'll be right back."
Yeah.
I'm out.
Rubs one out. I'm out.
But it was in seconds. It was fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah. 15 seconds.
And I think Elaine broke down because she ran into JFK Jr. at the gym.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So season 5, now they're up to around 30 million viewers. This is the peak of the ratings. 1993 to 94, season 5. The country is on. I remember some dude at work on his desk. He had little cardboard cutouts of all 4 characters just on his desk. Right. You know. The puffy shirt is a key episode where Jerry agrees to wear a frilly shirt on the Today Show. Michael Richards wins the first Emmy of any of the actors in the show. What were you going to say, Alan? You have any thoughts on this season?
Oh yeah, I came up with my top 20, and then season 5 seemed to have the most. Well, season 9 actually had a lot too. But yeah, the mango episode where Elaine tells Jerry that she faked every orgasm.
Oh yeah, fake.
Yeah, I mean that scene there, and George is ordering cake. You know, he's just loving every second of this.
Yeah,
that was just a phenomenal scene.
Yeah, that was.
What other episodes from this season were in your top 20?
I had the mango, the puffy shirt, the stall. I can't spare a square.
Spare a square. Oh my god!
You know, when she runs out with all of the toilet paper.
Yeah.
In her hands.
That's tremendous.
And then one of my top 6, because I couldn't do 5, is the opposite, where George starts doing the opposite.
Oh yeah.
Of everything. And for me, I know you guys aren't really into sports so much, right?
I watch Atlanta United.
I watch sports for the love of the game, baseball, football, but I don't sit and rattle off what college they went to. I just don't. I can't keep up with the names. I just don't care to that level.
Yeah. I mean, I'm primarily into football. It's been forever for me for football. But at the time, and when I was younger, I was a diehard Yankees fan. And so this was just awesome to see him stand up to George Steinbrenner and tell him everything that I wanted to say to him. You've made this team a laughing stock. I remember jumping up off the couch and going, "Yeah!"
That's great. Yeah. Well, at that time, Alan, the Braves, that was their dynasty. That was their decade.
Oh,
So
I love that team. Oh,
we
yeah.
went.
Really.
I went to the Braves games all the time. Watched it on TV. It was huge. I could rattle off everybody in the whole roster. I mean, it was easy to do.
Sure,
but it was great watching. And Larry David played Steinbrenner.
Oh, yeah.
In all those scenes.
No, it was actually Larry David's voice, but it was
His
an
voice.
actor. There's a different actor that was
his voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So season 6, averaging around 29 million viewers. So the a little bit lower than the previous season. George introduces George's Yankees job. Newman shows up. I don't know why I felt like Newman was a bit contrived, but apparently Larry and Jerry loved writing for that character.
Oh, it was great that there was this slimy postman
arch nemesis.
And when he ends up screwing Kramer's mom, it was just great, dude.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It was so funny.
This is the season where we find out Kramer's first name is Cosmo.
Yeah. It's that episode too.
Yeah. And then George tries to swap girlfriends, the episode The Switch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus wins an Emmy this season. So any season 6 favorite episodes, Alan?
I only had one, and that was the gymnast. And that's where George takes the eclair out of the garbage.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
And his, the girlfriend's mom catches him. Out of the garbage.
Yeah, it's right on top. So good.
And then it's the 3D art episode where he comes out of the bathroom without no shirt on.
Yeah.
It's just that was my and I guess season 6 was thin for me. That was the only one I had there.
All right, season 7, they're back up to around 30 million viewers, averaging. This is the last season where Larry David was the showrunner. Hugely famous episode, the Soup Nazi.
Yep.
No soup for you.
Yeah.
Basically, this soup restaurant, the guy is very picky and loses his temper and kicks customers out if they're least bit out of line. No soup, and the soup is apparently amazing. So people really try not to mess up.
I gotta chime in here. It's my number one note because it happened to me. It's my only. It's one of my top 6. The only episode that I had for season 7. But at the time, this is in the 90s, I was working at GE in Schenectady, New York. And every Wednesday we would go to this pizza place, the best pizza place around. And I'm telling you for real, the guy that owned the place, we called him the Pizza Nazi. And I would go in there and he literally gave me a hard time every time I was in there. And he would ask, I mean, he was a nice guy, but he would bust my balls like nobody.
Wow.
For whatever reason. And every time I would order, he'd be like, really? That's what you want? I would have to, plead my case.
Yeah.
I said, what, those garlic knots look good. He's like, those aren't for you. He literally said, those aren't for you. I'm telling you, so.
That's outrageous.
You can't handle the garlic nuts.
That's outrageous.
He wouldn't sell me. I couldn't have garlic nuts.
He literally wouldn't sell them to you.
No.
What's funny about that is like New York, you have like just word of mouth. Oh, you got to go here. This is the best lentil soup place you're gonna find in the city, and everyone, oh, wow, I got to try that, or like you said, the best pizza, or and this show just always had these. They've got the best bread over here, and they had an episode about Jerry stealing this
yeah,
bread from this
schnitzers.
woman. And but I remember with the soup Nazi specifically being doubled over on somebody's floor at one of these Seinfeld parties, and I just couldn't breathe. It was the funniest fucking thing. And there just wasn't another show on TV that had you in hysterics like that, you know?
Right.
And you think of other shows that were popular at the same time. Everybody watched the Drew Carey show, and you can watch that on Tubi, I believe, or Plex, one of them. And we watched like the first 2 seasons, and it's just not funny at all. Like, I don't know how that show was deemed equal to Seinfeld at the time.
A lot of stuff just doesn't stand the test of time. Norm Macdonald had a show. I used to watch that. That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's hard to some stuff is timeless. This stuff is timeless.
And it's timeless because it's talking about shit every day experience. You can put this on 10 years from now and be like, oh my God, that happened 2 days ago. You know?
Yeah.
Because people do get in arguments over inanimate objects. Take the pen. Take the pen. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anything else from season 7, Alan?
No, that was it for me. The soup Nazi was the pizza Nazi for me. That was it.
That's hilarious.
Oh.
Season 8, Larry David leaves. I think the pressure running the show is just a lot of stress, and plus he probably had, I got enough money to retire, so he's like, I'm going to retire for a little while.
Yeah.
So Seinfeld and writers like Peter Melman basically took over. Plots got a little bit broader and wackier, like Kramer getting a pet rooster. Key episode was the yada yada. That's a classic Seinfeld episode.
Oh yeah.
And then she said yada yada, and it was always somebody saying something, and they're about to say some key important information. Instead, they just say and yada yada.
Yeah.
Right.
What did she mean by yada yada?
Yeah.
That was a great one. Any episodes from season 8, Alan?
Yeah, the English Patient, where Elaine. It's like the only person around that hates the movie.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Peterman. Is this his first season?
I don't know.
I don't know. But that whole thing where he drags her to the movie and she flips
He
out.
was hysterical.
Oh yeah, great character. That's the other thing. I mean, in my notes, I mean, the guest spots. I mean, to a person, every guest star they ever had on there was just dynamite, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they nailed it. Whatever character they were, Kenny Banya, you know, I mean, everybody.
Cranston, Bryan Cranston,
Tim Watley, the dentist, Shaky the Moyle. Remember that one?
Yeah, the lawyer.
The lawyer, the Johnny Cochran.
Oh,
lawyer.
yeah, Jackie Childs. How could I forget?
Yeah. Oh my God, phenomenal.
So that dips down to about 28 million, averaging in season 8. So the it's starting to dip a little bit. Final season, Larry David returns for the finale. I loved the finale. The finale drew 76 million viewers. I watched it live when it happened.
Yeah,
I loved the finale.
Yeah.
They end up in prison, and Jerry's up there giving a stand-up routine in front of the guards, making jokes about prison rape.
I thought from beginning to end it was fantastic. And I don't know what you guys experienced, but I was like the only person in my circle who liked it. Everybody hated it.
A lot of people thought it was it was too nihilistic of an ending, you know. I thought it was hilarious.
I remember we were all just like, why end it? And it's the exact same thing that Jackie Gleason did with The Honeymooners. It ran 5 seasons, and he said, I want to go out on top.
Yeah.
we're not going to do anything. And that's it. And
Yeah.
he stepped away. And I think specifically Seinfeld wanted to do the same thing, solely in a reference to the Honeymooners. I think he totally, and it just was anything you like that. You don't want it to end. So
Right.
I do like somebody said something around, after it aired and everybody was the big debate of that was shit. That was that somebody said, we could have done anything and people would have hated. They didn't want the show to end.
So it was simply because it was ending.
I think that was my
Okay.
upset. I think that was where in hindsight,
Yeah.
I think that was my issue.
Well, I remember not wanting it to end at all. I remember, what am I going to do at Thursday at 9:00 now?
Yeah.
At least when Cheers went off the air, that was kind of, the same kind of thing. But you're like, oh, we still got Seinfeld though.
Yeah. I mean, and you think of certain shows when MASH ended, that was that was huge.
Oh, yeah.
And Cheers. And I spoke to somebody recently, they've never heard of Cheers.
Wow.
Because I said, hey, George Wendt died. And they're like, who? And I'm like, dude, Norm from Cheers.
Oh, God.
I was at lunch.
What's Cheers?
Brace yourself for this one. I was at lunch with a 30-year-old coworker who'd never heard of the Beatles.
I guess.
We're done.
Yeah, it's over.
You're dead to me. I've never heard of you, is what I would have said.
That was hilarious.
I meet people who don't like the Beatles and they're in their 20s, and I get it. You can't relate to a time where people had somebody else write their music or, it was all, they don't understand. And since we did our Beatles episode, I will honestly say I hear the Beatles in a different way. They were almost like Slayer in 63. Right. Those songs, you hear them and they're not loud thrash metal, but at the time, if you go back to 63, nobody was doing that, know.
Yep. There was a lot of amphetamines involved too. So
and John's anger just was just screaming out from everything he did. But anyway,
so what other episodes are you on your top 20 list, Alan? You don't have to rattle all of them off, but drop some more.
Oh, the Serenity Now.
Or the Christmas one. That's
the Strike. It's called The Strike, but it's got Festivus.
Yeah.
Festivus. I forgot about that. Yeah.
That's an annual viewing for me.
And all the episodes with Jerry Stiller are just fucking over the top. Jerry Stiller.
Serenity Now.
Forget it.
Jerry Stiller and the woman that they used for George's mother, they were such a dynamic.
Oh, Estelle, yeah.
Oh,
Frank and Estelle, they were phenomenal.
And they would have episodes with just George and his two parents, and you saw George's misery. Like, I can't take these two people. And it's so funny. And I've been invited along to things where somebody's like tries to preface you in the car, like, listen, when we get there, my mother is, and I went and had a fucking riot the whole time at this other person's level of uncomfortableness, where you think from your point of view that they're not that bad. And, but you see somebody,
because you're not, you're not living it. The other ones I have, the Merv Griffin show where Kramer got the Merv Griffin set.
Yeah, that was over
at his apartment. The Betrayal, which is the backwards episode, I thought that was really cool.
You
remember that one where it went backwards in time?
Yeah. And too many shows, they don't take chances or do different, and that's what was so amazing about Breaking Bad, another tremendous series. They did all these, cutting edge things.
Yeah.
But I think you can trace it all back to Seinfeld. I really do.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And the other one I have here is The Burning, which is the one where Kramer and his little friend there, Mickey, they act out symptoms in the hospital in front of doctors, and the doctors, the interns try to guess what malady they have.
Yeah.
And Kramer gets cut typecast for gonorrhea.
Yes.
Right.
Or when Kramer was the serial killer, or when they thought he was.
Oh, that's one of my the trip and the keys, the smog strangler. Kramer, to me, I mean, I got to talk about Kramer. To me, until Kramer came along, the only sitcom character I could think of, as a number one was Fonzie.
Uh-huh.
Right? There was nobody
Fonzie
like Fonzie.
Or Eddie Haskell on Leave It to Beaver.
I
Really?
thought Jim Ignatowski on Taxi was pretty interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
and Latka for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I think Kramer rules all. He's just no character like him.
Just him sliding into the doorway every time. He comes in with a little sink brush in some episode. He's like, "Hey, thanks," and there's nothing said, but Jerry almost gets this look like that wasn't in the
Right.
It was just something.
I mean, Jerry will be talking to someone, and Kramer will just walk in, grab a box of cereal, pour it in a bowl, pour some milk in, grab a spoon, start eating cereal. Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And Jerry's cereal,
And what it became, if you go back to George saying, listen, you either have all of us in each episode. So they could have a story and just have them walk on and do whatever. And it doesn't interfere with the story.
What ended up happening most of the time was these intricate story arcs where each character would have a story arc going on, and they would all come together towards the end.
Yeah, at the diner, or it was just became you could get away with that as long as you made sure that everyone was in each episode.
Yeah.
But
one last Kramer. My favorite Kramer scene of all time is when he's in the bar and he's drinking the entire mug of beer with a cigarette going out the side of his mouth. And they did a couple of takes of that too.
Yeah. I think my favorite Kramer is when they're at the laundromat and he's going to put cement in the
right.
And he can't get the bag in, and just shit goes everywhere, and then it's in his eyes, and he's, oh my God.
He was slapstick. He was so good at that slapstick stuff.
Him and Jerry Stiller, when Jerry thinks there's a mouse in the house, and they get wedged in the doorway trying to get through the doorway, and it's Michael Richards just blocking Jerry completely, and and it's just, they both have their backs to the camera, because I know they're both laughing their asses off. Oh, so good.
Yeah. What else you got, Alan? You said you had some notes.
Yeah, we've gone through most of Kramer. Oh, I mean, there's just so many moments, and catchphrases. I've just got a whole bunch of things.
Let's read them off,
okay,
man.
So the coffee table book about coffee tables.
Mm-hmm.
The
man's here.
The bro, the man's here. These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Yeah.
The panties that your mother laid out for you.
Yeah.
Right. From the opposite. My name is George. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents. And he picks up the girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to do the opposite of everything I usually do.
And that was a brilliant concept. I remember going, fuck, I should do that.
I know, right?
Jesus.
When he was caught masturbating, it was the Glamour magazine, and Jerry twice goes, Glamour? No,
Yeah.
that's
The episode where they have the ugly baby and the couple
Oh.
really want you to look at their baby and
oh my
just
god.
the idea
Yeah.
that someone would have an ugly baby, I was like, oh my god, it was so hysterical to me. But since that episode, I have actually seen people who are look at our child and you're like, holy shit, is this ugly little person looking at you, and you're like, that is unfortunate,
And the close talker, there are definitely some close talkers out there.
Yeah.
I've been in situations. This is one person from work who's like that, in very, very enthusiastic talking, and you step up, you back up a little bit, step in, back up.
And the woman with the man hands, we've all seen that,
Yeah.
She has man hands.
Yeah.
And there's a great one where the guy he wants Kramer's suit jacket.
Oh, Kenny Bania.
Yeah, Kenny Bania. And he tricks Jerry into taking him to dinner, and so Jerry, tries to honor the dinner, and he just wants a salad or some shit.
Soup.
Yeah, and it's, well, soup's not a dinner, and oh my god, just shit like that through all the seasons, and that's in life. You continue to run into it to this day.
Yeah.
Shrinkage. Like,
Shrinkage. Yeah.
I was in the pool. Yeah. Oh my god.
It was cold. There was shrinkage.
That's
significant shrinkage. And
so
the Christmas card, right? Jerry got a card. Kramer got a card. I never got a card. And then she, grabs his head and pulls him in to her chest. Yeah. There's your Christmas card.
Right.
That, I mean, just scenes like that were just one, just so monumental, so funny, explosive, but whatever the word is. You'll never forget.
Now, Julia Louis-Dreyfus went on to different things, but she was in an HBO show called The Veep, and that show is just hilarious. At 9 seasons, I think. It's fucking hysterical.
Really?
Really good show. She's a politician, and it's just all this stuff where she could give two shits about the people, but then she's, oh, hi, how are you? And her, very much like Seinfeld, her backing cast, there's just so many characters in that. The Veep, to leave Seinfeld and catch something like Veep, I think is extremely rare.
I'll have to check that out, because I know that Michael Richards did a show that didn't last very long where he was a private eye.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think I watched the one episode. I don't know how many it had. Like, it just was gone.
Yeah.
And then what I thought was a brilliant concept, but I never watched it and it didn't last, was Jason Alexander was in a show where he was a motivational speaker whose life was just a disaster. So he's always going out and giving, like a Tony Robbins kind of guy, giving these, but privately his life was just complete shambles.
Wow, I never saw any of that.
No, I didn't either. Yeah,
that was his attempt at a sitcom. For some reason,
the tragedy is Michael Richards giving stand up and getting heckled, and he blew up and said some shit.
That was as the audience members said. That was uncalled for. Come on, man.
It just sucked though, because he has not done shit since.
Well,
I do know Jerry is about to come out with a new show, and he's getting Michael Richards to be in this new show.
Jerry Seinfeld has a new sitcom coming out?
I don't know anything. I just know that it's coming.
All right. I got to check AI real quick. We can't. Richards, do you know anything about this, Alan?
I have no idea.
It's just at this point, it's just Jerry Seinfeld show.
Yeah.
Hold on.
He's going to have Michael Richards involved. Alan, while he's doing that, I know you set up a backdrop. What do we got behind you?
It's I've got the entire series on DVD. It's basically all
Oh,
the
that's what
sequels
that
lined
is.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just a silly, unauthorized,
Oh, that's cool.
tribute to Seinfeld,
Uh-huh.
coffee table book.
Right.
Right.
Now my complete Seinfeld,
Yeah.
you had the rough the ruffled shirt thing, the puffy shirt
Sure.
box set that looked like that shirt. Now I got a complete Seinfeld from Canada, that the discs are the discs that you have in that set there.
Yeah.
They're the same exact discs. And I got this for $35 because the guy couldn't find the one of the discs was missing, like disc 2 of season 7, something like that.
Okay.
And so he was selling the whole set for like $35 plus shipping. I pounced on it, and I still have that.
Nice.
And then what I did is I went to Target and innocently bought season 7.
There you go.
Went home, took disc 2 out, put it with my other, and immediately went back to Target with the receipt and said, "Hey, disc 2's missing." And they were like, "Oh my God, well, do you want to get something out?" And I'm like, "Well, I really wanted this signed, but I'll see what else I can, and I went and got something else."
All right, so here's
George Costanza,
Good, total George. Yeah, with the bookstore. Yeah.
Here's here's the deal. There was a rumor of a new project with Jerry Seinfeld and Michael Richards, $500 million deal for Paramount Plus, but Snopes debunked that as fiction, noting it originated from a satirical story of some kind.
Wow.
Seinfeld
they probably don't need to do a goddamn thing.
Seinfeld has teased in the past a potential Seinfeld revival project related to the show's finale. I'm guessing picking up with, I don't know, something to do with.
It would probably be like an hour and a half.
Back when they went to jail, but that's not confirmed either. So, got my hopes up there for a second.
Yeah. Well, they did do a reunion sort of thing on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I heard about that. There was an episode where they were all back together.
George,
George
remember,
and Larry.
George was a millionaire because he came up with an app called Flush, and it was where you could find the nearest bathroom if you were in the city.
That's hilarious.
You could use his app, so that's what I remember about.
That's funny as hell.
Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is just so good.
So good, yeah.
I've watched that show and been like, oh my God, I've done that. I've had that same scenario. You go and try and help the little kid at the party, and somehow you're the asshole, and you're like, oh my God. It's so good, dude.
Yeah, Larry David, phenomenal job. The where he's standing in line to get frozen yogurt, and the lady in front of him is sampling each and every flavor.
Right, yeah.
And he goes, "You're a sample abuser." She's gonna try banana. Oh, let me guess. What does it taste like? Banana?
Banana?
Oh, great series. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen I think I've seen the first season, and I'm kind of in the middle of season 2, but I haven't seen too much of it. But it's pretty funny.
He gets into it with Michael J. Fox later in the thing, and it plays on Fox having his
condition, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He has. I think what is called, the technical term is the shakes.
Yeah. So, but they do a whole bit where Michael J. Fox gets back at him for saying something, and it's so good.
Yeah. Richard Lewis, rest in peace, was frequent on that. And I think my favorite all-time scene in Curb Your Enthusiasm is when Larry's got this guy shadowing him because he's going to be playing Larry David in a movie.
Uh-huh.
So he wants to become Larry David, just becoming him. Anyway, they're outside on a street corner or whatever, and Richard Lewis drives up in a car with a friend of his, and they're just saying hi, pleasantries, and he introduces the guy. He's like, yeah, this guy's just shadowing me because they're making a movie about me. He's going to play me in a movie. And Richard Lewis goes, what's the name of the movie? The biggest fucking asshole ever roamed the earth.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, the two of them, it was so painful. You almost thought, God, do they hate each other? It was so good.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. And just the little drama between them, I felt like Richard Lewis would get so his panties up in a wad for the slightest thing. And I just loved it. And the one guy, Funkhauser, I was annoyed with. He annoyed me. He played Super Dave back in the day.
Bob Einstein, right?
Yeah. I just never found him funny other than the Super Dave stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the Seinfeld legacy, kids.
There you go. Seinfeld, A to Z. There you have it. You got any last words on Seinfeld, Alan?
Just that it's my all-time favorite. Nothing comes close. I've got, we were saying, I've got the complete series. I watched them at dinner time with my kids over a year span. When they were becoming teenagers, getting a little bit older, when they could get the jokes.
Yeah,
they love it. They love it too. It's just
it is valuable for that you can have it on and not worry that the word cunt whore is going to be uttered, or you don't have to worry with the kids. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
There you have it. All right. Well, thanks, Alan Beatle Bailey, for dropping in again. Alan.
Oh, always a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Alan has been floating some ideas past us, so he'll be back again for sure.
Real quick, Alan, the Frank Zappa Cheaper Than Cheap, this new box set that's come out.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know about it,
no, I don't.
There was a TV broadcast thing where they play a bunch of songs in '74, and that channel, whatever that station went out of business, whatever, something happened, it just got canceled. Well, the whole project has come out. So if you check on frankszappa.com or whatever, you'll see it's Cheaper Than Cheap or something like that.
Okay.
I'm gonna be checking that out soon because I'm hoping that there's a DVD in there because I would love to see that performance.
And that sounds like Steve's favorite era.
Yeah.
74. So I will definitely let him know as well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say hip Steve to that.
Oh,
definitely just go on before you tell him, make sure you're reading what it is, because I've kind of I haven't.
Silky's just talking out his ass, so it could be.
Yeah, this isn't real. I'm making this all up.
Okay,
it could be something completely.
No, it's on there. I just can't remember the actual title, but something like cheaper than cheap, something like that.
Okay.
There you go. All right, kids. Well, there you have it. Peace out.
Deuces, kids.
So long.